Alright, hello all to your first virtual lab. I'm going to make sure everyone has instructions on how to get here, but this is a YouTube video I'm making in order to help you through your taxonomy and phylogenetics lab. I have purposefully simplified this. A student struggled last year when I had a much more complicated dichotomous key. I want you to understand how to make one, but I don't want you to get lost in the weeds. So we are going to have two activities, and you have a sub this week, Dr. Bello. Dr. Bello will be helping you through all of these pieces if you need it, but hopefully this video will help you with the majority of it. Okay, so you're in Module 3, Quiz 3. This is your lab that you did this last week in person. And here is Lab 7. Okay, so click on that. It's going to tell you what you need to do. Okay, so there's a PDF that's sort of more of a guideline here. Okay, but really there's two activities you're going to be doing. You're making a dichotomous key, and you're doing a virtual activity, the Nova Evolution Lab. I'm going to walk through each one of those separately, but I want everyone to see where you find it, okay? So making a dichotomous tree, you use a document, and I'm going to show you the document to create a dichotomous key. Then there's going to be a virtual activity. The virtual activity is one of my favorites. It is the Nova Evolution Lab, very easy to do on your own, but it teaches you so much about how evolutionary trees are actually built, because you will be building evolutionary trees. All right, this is where the recording is going to go. So here is the PowerPoint I will go through, and a video. I will add it there in a minute. There's also a video here showing someone actually building out the evolutionary key, the dichotomous key. I'm not as good at that. I don't have a good camera set up to watch me draw something, and my drawing is pretty messy on here. I will do my best to draw on my screen when I'm showing you the how to set up your dichotomous key, but don't stress out. If you need someone to watch something else do it, then this one shows how to do it with pens. You can do it with household objects to practice and such. And you may have to do this again, on the exam or the lab quiz. Okay. So here we go. Dichotomous key activity. That's the attachment here. It has, you're creating a dichotomous, also known as a taxonomic tree of big cats, and the online lab activity. You have to turn in at least 2, possibly 3 documents. Number 1, the worksheet with the answered questions. Number 2, a picture of your dichotomous key if you draw it on a piece of paper that's not on there, or just attach the Word document if you are able to get it in there, or get the picture that you take in there. Second, there is a screenshot you must take of the Nova Evolution Lab. All right, let's go through it. So, taxonomy and phylogenetics are both ways to organize and classify things, okay? Taxonomic keys follow morphological features to distinguish species. You're going to be learning about from your sub this week about the morphological species concept, but the idea is that if you are out in the field, you want to identify something, you're going to be using a taxonomic key. You don't need to know how closely it is related to something else. Instead, you just need to know, if I have these features, what does that add up to be? Okay? It's like a little mystery. Phylogenetic keys instead follow evolutionary features, and the closer you are together on the tree, the more related you are. Okay? So the phylogenetic key is going to be the focus of some of the information that is being given to you by the sub, but really the idea is the evolutionary features. Identify relatedness in this, that you can actually track back the distance away that this individual is. All right, so I like to start with this one. It gives you an idea of how to start. This is one thing you can do. You can do this with anything, okay? I could do it with the cups that are sitting on my table here. I could do it with different types of plants that are in my office right now. I've got 2 plants over here. But you can do it with bills. So the idea would be, if you have bills and coins, and you wanted to make a dichotomous key, a taxonomic key to describe them, The goal is that if you've never seen American money, you want to be able to tell someone who has never seen American money how to identify these different bills. For instance, one of your split, maybe you start with bills and coins. Okay, that's on the top. And then a split for that would be penny on one side, nickel on another, would be coins on one side and bills on the other side, okay? So it would be is it made of metal? Yes or no? Yes, you go to the coins, and no, you go to the bills. Or it's made of paper in another way, okay? Additionally, you have there's a $10 bill, a $100 bill, etc. on the paper side, and then these different shapes and such. So building up that coins and bills. So I'm gonna actually do this spider key for you here, as long as I can find one of my writing utensils for here. Hold on, I just had the writing utensils. Okay, so let me escape out of here, and we're gonna go here. Okay, so I'm gonna build this out right now for you. Let's make this as big as I can. Okay. Put that up. Put this away. Okay. Go ahead and draw. And here's how it's going to work. Okay. We have, start up here. We'll just label it money. Okay. What you're going to want to do first is, I like to make a question and then have a yes, no coming away from it. You could also just have the question on the side of the arrow that you use, okay? So you'll see both in some of the taxonomic keys that I'm building here, okay? So the question is going to be, so is it paper? Okay. So we have two directions. And generally, it's yes and no, okay? Let's work on the no side. The coins are going to be easier than the paper, but you can work out the paper on your own. Okay, the next question I'm going to ask is, remember what kind of things I had back here? Penny, nickel, dime, and quarter. The main ones that we know. Imagine no one's ever seen these before. They don't know how to read them and see the denominations. What is a penny? What does a penny even refer to? Okay. So here's how we're going to start. We're going to start with silver or gold, okay? So let's say, I go back and get my drawing tool back on, draw, okay? So I can just ask a simple question. Silver, okay, just ask you about the color. Now I want you to note that my no here is immediately going to stop, and I've identified the penny. Okay? So if I follow this and I say, is it paper? If I look at a penny and I'm like, wait, what is this again? What is this called? I don't know what it is. I say, is it paper? No, it's not paper. Is it silver? No, it's not silver. Oh, the only one that's not silver in these coins is the penny. So it's got to be a penny. Okay, now let's go yes over here. And I need a new question, okay? So again, these spider keys can get a little long, so just make sure you give yourself enough space and, write small enough, okay? Next question is going to be ridged edge, yes or no. Remember that the dime and the quarter have a ridged edge, and the nickel does not. So when I say ridged edge, ridges, I'm just going to say ridges. It's hard to write edge in there, okay? Remember, we have a yes over here and a no. The no, if it's silver, and it has no ridges, we have immediately made it down to what? The nickel, okay? There's nickel. One more split away from finding our quarter and dime, okay? The next problem here. We should not have multiple questions. If you have two left, you should have one question that distinguishes either one of them, okay? So let's say, easiest way to do this is either to look on the back, but quarters are pretty variable in that way. Or I could say, big or small, comparatively, okay? So remember, this is on the assumption that you only have two more left, and you're just comparing them, okay? So if I say, you can also phrase this as something like bigger than a bottle cap, okay? Big. Obviously, we know which one's which. Yes. Quarter. No. Is the dime. Just gotta leave it a Q and D. So this is called spider key. And what I did was I just sequentially put things into there. Note that each one of my spider key parts ends at where it ends, and there's no more branches after that. That's where the identification pieces are. Okay, I just go down and I ask, so if I'm holding a quarter, I'm like, I forgot what this was called. Let's follow this. Is it paper? No. Is it silver? Yes. Does it have ridges? Yes. Is it big? And assuming I have others to compare it with, I can say, yes, it's the biggest one. And from there, define it as a quarter, okay? Obviously, you'd have to say bigger than a certain size if you could be comparing to, say, a silver dollar or something similar. All right, let's go back into it. Let me start okay. So this is the diagram that separates, okay? Bills and coins, you're using a dichotomous key. Dichotomous keys, you've probably played this before. It's called Guess Who. I play this with my daughter all the time. So the way the Guess Who works is that you look at this sea of people, and you're creating a dichotomous key in your head, even if you don't think so. Often you say, is it a girl or a boy? So you say, is it a boy? Yes or no. So if yes, you've eliminated about half of them. You put down all the girls. So, and then now you just have boys in front of you, and then you ask, are they wearing a hat? So the hats go one way, the non-hats go the other way, etc., and keep branching out. Eventually you get to the identification, and you could create an entire dichotomous key based on all those questions that people normally ask in Guess Who, and identify all the Guess Who people. It'd be a very large dichotomous key because there's a lot of people in there and you need a lot of splits. But this gives you an idea of how to start, okay? Another way to do it is not the spider key, but this is a key here. You start out as composed of paper and metal. Okay, so paper, you get a 2, and then metal, you get a 4, okay? So the 4, the edges have ridges or don't have ridges. If they have ridges, you get a 5. It's just a written out way of doing it. So I'm going to have you guys focus on spider keys because I do think they're easier to use than following these, but you can follow them the same way you follow a spider key. This is more choose your own adventure style instead of branching tree style. Okay? So here are these plants, and they are identified out. Now this is based on just these plants, okay? Normally a identification key like this would be much larger, but let's say we're only trying to divide these two out. We look at the plants, we say narrow, broad, and comparison, okay? So these two would be narrow, and, this one, and, probably these two. These are the narrowest leaves, okay? These two have the narrow leaves, these 3 have the broad leaves, okay? So you follow it. Let's say I want to identify this purple one here, okay? Plants, broadleaf. Does the top petal overhang the lower petal? Oh, look at this one. It does. See that top petal overhanging that lower petal? If I follow that, it says it's a dead nettle. Look at that. If it doesn't, which would be this one or this one, then I would look for the different shapes of leaves. Easy enough. So spider keys are the easiest ones to build, and we are going to be using them in our hands-on key because they're easy to build out as you go instead of having to With the written key, you kind of have to plan it out beforehand and then build it after. I find it's easier just to draw it as you go, and drawing it as you go works out for the spider keys. Alright, so this is another one. Candy, if you have a big pile of candy, let's say you have a packaged candy, it's packaged in a wrapper, it's packaged in a plastic wrapper, it's yellow, you got a lemon head. So you're working on a certain set that you'd be expected to find in this box. Often, these dichotomous keys or taxonomic keys are built specifically for areas, for regions. And so you say, okay, there's a common weed out here that I normally see, and these taxonomic keys will know that you're likely to see that weed in, say, California. And you'll be able to use this to build out and figure out what it is. So in your activity, you're going to be using a dichotomous key to classify these big cats. Now, can you identify these cats already? Probably. I mean, these are pretty common big cats. You've got a puma or mountain lion. You have a lynx. This one's an ocelot, etc. But let's say you'd never seen these cats before. How would you use a dichotomous key to build them? So some have spots, some don't. Some have tails, some don't. Some have, one of them has a mane. One of them has spots and stripes. Building that out will help you to understand that, okay? I will not build this key for you right now, but use the same skills, okay? The idea is that you're going to decide first on a way to divide the items into two groups. So this is an instruction. It's a lot of words. I'm not going to read it out. But the idea is that you have a characteristic that you define, you use for each grouping. The groups created must be opposites of each other, okay? Which is why I usually use the question and then there's a yes or a no, okay? Does it have, or you can also say has spines, doesn't have spines. Or you can do, there's a variety of things you can do, okay? Let's show you the activity, okay? This is all linked up there, okay? Taxonomic key shows you some ways, okay? Here's this very basic spider chart that shows you. This one, instead of having a question, this is wings, and then a branch out like a spider. This one has like a more of a flowchart style, but it's the same idea, okay? This is a spider flowchart setup. So if you get an invertebrate and has wings, in this small pile of things, obviously other invertebrates have wings, okay? But out of a certain set, so you have several organisms in one spot. Say, okay, if it has wings, it's a butterfly. If it has no wings and a shell, it's a snail. If it has no wings, no shell, and no legs, it's a worm. And so on. Obviously, there's other things that fit in these categories, but we're talking about like if you're in a certain space and you have these certain sets, okay? Each split has a characteristic it refers to. You can either write these questions at split, does it have wings, or it have a direction be yes, yet, no, like I did with the bills, with the coins, or just have the split be it has this, does not have this. The key here is that these are always called dichotomous keys. You gotta have splits, and then when it ends, you put the identified individual at the bottom there, okay? You don't have splits after identification. You don't have an identified one and then you split out again. No, do it the same way that I did my key, okay? All right, and so here's the individuals. You can define them as A, B, C, D, E, F. You can write down some of the characteristics they have, like a lion has a mane, that the jaguar and the ocelot have, and I think the lynx has spots. This one has a tail but no spots, etc. Okay? And then you can start building out your keys. You want to have 5 splits. 6 individuals, 5 splits. 5 questions you're asking. You should be able to do it in 5 splits, so between 5 and 6 splits at the most. You don't want to do a bunch more splits. The idea is not to ask multiple questions for each animal. Remember that when you're splitting, you should be asking a question. You should never have a dead end here, okay? So if you are asking a question, like first you ask a question of, does it have a tail, yes or no, okay? All the rest of these are on one side and then the lynx is on the other. Then on this area, you're not going to ask them, does it have a beard? None of these have beards, okay? like the lynx does? Or does it live in snow or something? None of these live in snow. So this is the issue here, is that you can't have a dead end for the no question. Every time you ask a yes/no question, there has to be something on the other side. So just double check what's left to make sure you're not adding superfluous questions that don't have information here, okay? All right, here's where you draw your spider key. Again, follow the instructions that I gave you. It should look something like this spider key, except it has questions about the cats, okay? And remember, your identification is at the end of the flowchart or spider key line. Make sure you have enough space for yourself. If you identify, so you see this is 1, 2, 3 splits and 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals. You should have no more than 6 splits maximum, but 5 for sure. You should be able to do it in 5. Because you should be picking traits that are easy to identify. All right. So, then you're going to ask, could you use your taxonomic key to correctly identify all the cats? Remember to label really clearly. And to see if someone else could use it. If you gave them one of the cats, can they follow it to find the cat? Okay. Do you think that dichotomous keys make the identification of unknown organisms easier or more difficult? Look up other dichotomous keys. Does yours look similar? And using this taxonomic key only, could you determine how closely the cats are related? Why or why not? Okay, so please answer all those questions. Do your taxonomic key. This should not take you a super long period of time, okay? Let's go back here to my PowerPoint, okay? So let's compare the dichotomous tree versus phylogenetic tree. This is a question in there and I need to be able to answer that, okay? Dichotomous trees, the idea is that it just differentiates organisms by traits. It is completely morphological. If winged is a trait, bats and dragonflies would be grouped together, even though we know that bats and dragonflies do not actually share a very close common ancestor. And winged, these wings are not from a common ancestor. Every time you put something onto a phylogenetic tree, though, it is the same. Okay, so, sorry. Phylogenetic trees show change over time in relationships with organism. The idea is that it's showing how closely in time or genetics an organism is related to something else in the tree. Okay? And in the Nova Lab, I will show you how to build that out. Okay? Phylogenetic trees, though, are showing change in traits over time. So the concept here, let's say we start down here, right? Looks similar to a phylogenetic tree, except we're starting to talk instead about patterns, what evolved first. So everything above this point, this synapomorphy right here, everything above this point has vertebrae. Okay? Sharks have vertebrae, but sharks do not have bony skeletons. Okay, so sharks are over here, but everything above this bony skeleton here, the rest of this has bony skeleton. Okay, so this is the clade that your teacher was talking about. And then above here, everything has 4 limbs. Okay, ray fin fish do not have 4 limbs. And then above here, so a vertebrate with a bony skeleton, 4 limbs, but no amniotic egg. That's going to be amphibians. And then you build up here. Again, it has everything below it. Okay. So the characters that are shared are called synapomorphies, and these character states, like how many or how big, can also separate similar groups. Is there 2 of these? Is there 3, etc.? And the branches represent points where one or more groups separated from a common ancestor. Start with a significant character that can be used to initially separate the groups. Okay, presence or absence of a certain structure. And then if there are some differing character states of the structure, this can be another synapomorphy. Okay, so this works for a little bit more complicated ones, but you will be able to see the difference here. Okay, so let's say you have something here, and they all share a certain characteristic, but then some of them have spines. So everything above here has spines. And then everything above this branch has spines on the body only. These have spines on other parts. spines of the body. These have no spines, okay? So you see Serratina, Laterospinosa, whatever it is that is in these species. So let's go check out this evolutionary tree activity. Alright, evolution lab. What are you going to do? You're going to play a game, okay? Sign in with something, okay? I am going to go ahead and sign in with Google, okay? Use my Clark LW. Okay, I'm going to play the game. Now, it says I completed it all. I did. But this is the idea here, is that this is your goal is to get all of the leaves. Oh, I didn't finish all the leaves on the... Oh, you know what? You can't see that. There you go. You can't... I didn't finish all the leaves on the U evolved 2, but that is not a big deal. Sorry, I don't mean to move. I'm trying to move me. Okay, there we go. So, you're going to start with training trees and then move up. They get progressively harder, and if you get stuck, then either I, after the end of my vacation, so somewhere after Tuesday the 12th, or your substitute professor can help you, okay? So at the end, though, what you're going to want to do, so you need to sign in with something. Make a PBS account just for this, so I can't track you. I wouldn't be able to. Do something so that your name pops up in the corner there, okay? And you want that bar to be at the very end. And the way you get leaves, okay, so you can watch this to figure it out, but play that, okay? Suggest you watch the videos. It does show you a little bit how to start, but let's start with this one here, okay? The idea is that you always drag things in the center, okay? Wait for it to go pop, and it's gonna click in place. You connect them, okay? Now they need a synapomorphy to connect them together. Palm trees and geckos both have cells with nuclei. Simple enough, okay? Then we keep going. Then it's gonna say, okay, well, add this one. Now, sometimes you need to check the traits, because you don't know what a fly agaric is, so let's look. Let's check out this fly agaric. It has cells with nuclei, and it's heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means that it obtains nutrients by eating other organisms. Then you check out this one. Well, this one's heterotrophic too. That's an autotroph instead. So now we see another way that we can distinguish them. The fly agaric is going to be closer to the gecko. But we need to add some synapomorphies down here. Look up here. See these little blobs? You can tell how many each one needs. You need to fill them up. Okay, so this one is a photosynthetic autotroph. It's the only one on the tree there. It doesn't have to have a partner or something, okay? So it can just be the only one there that has this trait. This trait distinguishes away from the heterotroph here. These two have these two here, and now you can see is an animal or plant more closely related to a fungus? And you look at how far away they are in how far the splits are away, okay? So these two, the heterotrophic, came after the cells with nuclei, and it's 1, 2, 3 to get to it, okay? It's a little further than getting from this one. It's just one split away. So we obviously know the animal. Okay, that was easy. Let's go to familiar faces. Okay, then we're going to learn about these other traits. Again, what you're going to do is you're going to put them up. I like to just plop them all together in whatever way I'd like and start thinking about how to deal with them, okay? Now, this looks like I might have gotten it wrongly organized. Then you click on them and you start figuring it out. Note the stick insect only has one thing in common with all of these. This one's likely what's called an outgroup, where it has something that's similar to the rest of these, but that's it. Okay, so we're going to learn about their traits and then see which ones are actually more closely put together. With some of these simpler ones, you can cheat a little bit and look at this and say, oh look, dog and king snake both have 3. I bet that they have all 3, but check them to see, okay? Dog has is an amniote, vertebrate, and bilateral symmetry. Vertebrate, bilateral symmetry for goldfish. Amniote, vertebrate, bilateral symmetry, okay? You have to build it up in the correct order though, okay? What do they all share? Bilateral symmetry. Okay. Watch as it goes up. You'll see that it fills in. If you're wrong, it's going to toss that one out and say boom and say that you're wrong. Watch if I put vertebrate at the bottom. Ooh, that one's not right. Okay. So this will help you to progress through. Again, it gets harder. So you start to put genetics here. You start to put biogeography. Where are they from? Where do they live? And it starts building up like that. So make sure that you're paying attention to how that works. Again, you need to go through all of them. But this will help you to build it and see what's more closely related. Look, dogs and king snakes are more closely related because they are, they share bilateral symmetry and being a vertebrate and being an amniote. Okay? There you go. What do they have all in common? They all have bilateral symmetry, and that's the only thing they have in common. Stick insects do not have vertebrae. Okay. Again, go through the whole thing. It's a fun game, and I think it teaches a lot and helps you really to distinguish between, starts helping you understand how more complex trees are built as you move forward. All right. And then that's about it. These are the questions from there. Make sure you are able to answer. What is the difference between an evolutionary tree and a taxonomic tree? One of the questions that's on the worksheet. Okay? Skills you need to be able to do for quizzes and exams. Number 1, read taxonomic trees and keys and evolutionary trees. Be able to identify closely related individuals and be able to identify something from a taxonomic key. Describe differences between the evolutionary and dichotomous trees. Just described them before, okay? But the basic idea is that it's morphology versus relatedness. Identify more recent or more ancient traits. Which ones evolved first? And that's what the phylogenetic tree is going to tell you. Use an evolutionary tree to identify which organisms are more closely related, which we just did, and use the list of traits to identify organisms that are more closely related evolutionarily. The list of traits is going to start coming in common, start becoming more common, more understandable for you once you go through that. They're going to start putting up these tables of traits, tables of genetic pieces, okay? Right, that's all I have. I hope everyone understands how to do this. Again, this is the only virtual lab we are having. Your substitute professor will be in the virtual lab classroom, which let me just quickly show you how to get there so everyone is on the same page. How do we get to this? You're going to go to virtual classroom. You're going to go to Zoom meeting, and you'll see there's 2 Zoom meetings coming up, okay? There's going to be 3. I will add another one here for the lab. Okay, I forgot that I need to add that, okay? But hop in here on Thursday and hop in here on Tuesday. All right, you will see me again on Tuesday, October 14th. Thursday, October 14th. And at that point, I will discuss the results of your tests. Your exams will be graded by then. All right, have a great day.